Hello, football fans. Welcome back. This is Conference Championship weekend for the 2023 season for the Scuffed Football Podcast. This is Noah. I'm Ted. We're rushing through this week. We got a lot to cover, and Noah's internet's been dog shit for the 10 minutes leading up to us recording this, so we're going to blaze through this shit. Let's start with last week's games. Texans-Ravens. Look, my big takeaway was that the first half was entertaining football. The second half, the Ravens literally drove a bus over the Texans. I don't think the Texans played that bad. The Ravens just came out at halftime and showed us that they were absolutely ready to win this Super Bowl. They are here to play ball, dude.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I remember I was working and I saw the score 10-10. I was actually pretty surprised. And then that being said, ends up 34-10. Ravens looked very dominant. I was saying, I think just the way that, the AFC is, I think I had more confidence in the Bills to beat the Ravens if we had moved on. That be like, I don't know how I feel about the Chiefs beating the Ravens. I think I'm less confident on that. But we'll get to that.
The Ravens just seem like they've got stuff put together, right? And the idea that like their first half was kind of weak and they still kept up with an explosive Texans offense. Their defense looked a little sluggish in the first half, but again, still made the stops and let the Texans only score 10, right? Whatever happened in that locker room at halftime, Lamar Jackson looked every bit the MVP candidate he is. That offense was steamrolling. They were running over people. The offensive line was flawless. The defense came out and shut down the Texans, who were actually moving the ball pretty well in the first half. I mean, this is just a scary football team. If you play like this against anybody, you're going to win the game. And the Ravens just look to have everything they need. Beyond that, I mean, we'll get to kickers here in a bit, but I like the idea that Justin Tucker just feels so automatic. Every extra point, every field goal, like everything that you need that man to do, it feels like he's turned on. Like there is nothing the Ravens aren't doing well. I want to give my props to the Texans because this feels like a really solid starting piece for them to make deep runs for years to come, right? Like they still played good football, but boy, the Ravens just look so dominant. They're going to be a scary, scary team.
Agreed.
All right. Next, we'll move on to Packers 49ers. This game was incredibly entertaining. I expected this one to be our blowout of the weekend. The 49ers, again, they just didn't come out necessarily firing on all cylinders. Jordan Love looked really solid, was passing the ball incredibly well. Aaron Jones was moving well. This turned into a really, really entertaining football game that I wasn't quite expecting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think it's interesting to see how much of a difference the Niners look without Debo. I mean, we said it when they were doing their, three loss streak, and they didn't have Debo. They look like an entirely different team. They don't look as dominant. I mean, that being said, maybe they'll come out this coming week and shock us all. But I'm actually I think the Packers again also have a nice little starting fundamental piece. I think they did pretty well. I mean, to knock out Dallas and then really give the number one seed a run for their money. So
yeah. I to let go of my biases here for a second, right? I don't want the 49ers to win the Super Bowl. And the main reason for that is because I don't want to feel like the Eagles are that much further behind the 49ers, right? Like, obviously the Eagles didn't have their great season and the 49ers looked every bit as good this year as last year, right? But I think this makes it feel like the NFC is more approachable, that we'll get competition in future years, right? The fact that we're seeing teams that we didn't necessarily expect, like, yeah, I think we picked the Lions to win the division at the beginning of the year, right? But like, they look better than I think we were ready for them to, right? I think the Bucs look better than we gave them credit for all season long. The Packers coming out and Jordan Love playing this well, I really think that there's going to be an open NFC the next couple of years, which is really refreshing. Obviously, it's way too early to be like, yeah, Jordan Love, future Hall of Famer, the Packers are getting 3 in a row, right? But like, if this level of play keeps up and they can continue to build the team around them, especially with the young pieces that are already there in Green Bay, I mean, the Packers are good, way better than I was ready for them to be this season. So I'm very impressed, and I'm happy they kept up with the Niners.
Yeah, agreed.
For the Niners, though, their competition next week is going to be the Lions after the Lions beat the Bucs. I would argue that this Lions-Bucs game was one of the best games of the playoffs to this point. I really think that this was everything I watch when I want to turn on a Monday night game was this Lions-Bucks game. This was just fun football about teams that I have no necessary rooting interest. Want to give my props to Jared Goff for winning more games this postseason run than Dallas has won in, I don't know, 30 years of the last 30 years of the playoffs. I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, I think Jared Goff is something super special. I think that Lions team is a lot of fun, man. Like this was a fun game. Baker played well. Goff was there and fun. Like this was such an exciting football game. I loved watching this one.
Yeah, no, I agree. This was by far probably one of the better ones. I mean, I actually kind of wanted the Bucks to win. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the Lions. Again, Jared Goff is having his career revitalized there. But like again, like I'm still a Baker Mayfield, fan now. He's shown the tenacity, and I think I messaged you in your stream, and I was like, hey, even though they lost, like I still firmly believe that Baker deserves to be that franchise quarterback for doing everything that he did this season. And I believe you agreed with me, and you're all like, I agree. So,
yeah, man.
I mean, I think for both of them, I mean, obviously we're yet to see where the Lions will finish. Maybe they make it to the Super Bowl, maybe not. But I think either way, I think it was, even if you are the Bucks, I think it was still I don't know. I don't want to say like a feel good loss, but I think it was a good, like, you can feel good about it because you did, you won the first round and then you got into the second and you gave them a fight again. So like, I think they should feel good about where they are considering, they probably weren't really believed in.
Yeah, and I think for the Bucks too, I mean, kind of similar to the way we talked about the Packers and the Texans, right? That like, I think there's a lot of places to start here, right? Like, obviously we don't know if Baker's coming back to Tampa Bay, right? Like, they're going to have to make their decision this offseason, right? But I firmly believe that like, he earned his job, right? They were underdogs against the Eagles. They were underdogs against the Lions. They beat the shit out of the Eagles. And honestly, they kept this one super close against a team that you can now say is a top 4 NFL team. There's clearly things to clean up because they go 9-8 in the regular season. Like that's a weak division, and if you're this much better than them, you should probably be steamrolling your division, right? Like I'm not saying that they're a flawless team, of course, but like I think that they're a lot closer than we expected them to be. They really showed us in the playoffs that they can play good ball, man. And the Bucks are fun. I will root for Baker Mayfield until the end of time. Even when they lost, I said, "Fuck you, Jimmy Haslam. You picked the wrong guy." Like Cleveland can rot. All right, that brings us to our last game of the week, and I know this one's going to be our longest one, so I'm sorry in advance. Chiefs-Bills, truly, this as an outsider looking in, this felt like another classic game. There's moments that we are going to remember for quite some time, even if it wasn't the shootout it was a couple of years ago. Like, this was a hell of a game. I know that there's a lot of talking points here, and I want to hit the important ones, Noah. I want to start with the fumble on the goal line. As weird as of all of the things that we could talk about, I want to start with the fumble on the goal line. First off, this felt like the Chiefs' whole entire season, a wide receiver kind of letting them down. Even if it wasn't a drop necessarily, it was him dropping the football and creating a turnover in a place where not only do you get to try, like, it's a fumble instead of a touchdown, like, you've just given the ball back to the Bills. I know a lot of people are mad about this rule, but without going totally Homer Bills fan, man, this is, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, oh, God, I really thought that was going to be game. They were driving, obviously after that fucking weird fake punt bullshit. That being said, like, getting it out, obviously we needed to stop. The fumble into into a touchback was literally life-saving for us. I mean, I was very happy, obviously. I thought it was a good call. I mean, obviously, it was Poyer was right there. He did everything right. I don't really know like what to do, like what I would have done differently. Obviously, like, that is like still, an incredibly gifted athlete making that play. So yeah, I just, my concern with that call, right, is first off, I want to say that I like the fumble into the end zone rule.
I hate the idea that you can get all the way down to the 1, not secure the ball properly, fumble it, and then get to try again from the 1. Fuck right off. If you can't secure the ball in that spot, you deserve to have a turnover. Get out. All right? I don't want to hear anything any different. My issue with the call that happened, right, is that it was such a close call between his ass being on the turf and that ball coming out. And while I think that the fumble was probably the correct call, it was so close, man. It is so hard to change that through the replay, man. Like that, I'm kind of concerned because I've watched a million games where I've said, yeah, it could go either way, but whatever they called on the field is going to stand. This one kind of felt the same. Like it was so close to not being a fumble that I have no idea how they overturned that, even if I think it was probably the right call, man. It was so close.
So, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it was very close. That being said, I just think that when they reviewed it, they were like, again, it was just when he was starting to extend a little bit, I agree. It was really close, but like a half second before his butt touched, right? I could see the ball was starting to wiggle at least a little bit, right? And that, constitutes that loose ball. Poyer did a great job. We love that.
Yeah.
But I agree that was super close. But looking back on it, I think it was the right call. Yeah.
I guess I just didn't have any angles that made me feel confident, right? We talked about this 8 weeks ago with when the Eagles played the Bills, right? About the AJ Brown catch non-catch that ended up getting confirmed as a catch, right? And it was the idea that yeah, I see where you're coming from, but there's just there's nothing that makes me feel strongly that it should get overturned or should stick, right? And in those situations, the call on the field should probably stand when you're not 100%. I didn't have any angles of that camera that made me feel really confident that this is definitely the right one. The next topic I want to bring up, you kind of mentioned it there, was the fake punt call, because I think that was super important. You're in a position where you're within a few points, right? This isn't you need to make up ground. This isn't we're secure enough and we don't want you to get the ball back because it's 2 scores in a lot of time. This was a tight game with 12 minutes to go in the 4th, where realistically both teams are going to get multiple possessions out of this, right? And even if you're going to make that fake punt call, I don't understand it going to somebody like Damar Hamlin instead of somebody who's a more powerful runner. Not to disparage Damar Hamlin, he's fine in his own right. Don't get me wrong, right? But I would much rather hand that ball to a fullback or a tight end who could run through somebody if they do get stopped. On 4th and 5, man, what the fuck is that call?
Yeah, that one hurt to watch. I mean, as a Bills fan, and I was watching the game live, and I was like, okay, we got plenty of time. We're only down, a few points here. We're gonna get the ball back. We just need to get a stop. And then, as I watched that happen in real time, I think a part of my heart just broke because I don't know why the fuck we were calling that shit. I don't even know. I don't have any explanation for it, dude. I myself, as a normal, I don't have anything to do with NFL. Even I was like, what the fuck are we doing, bro? That just, I don't get it, man. I feel like that was obviously the bad, not the right call. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think the call for the fake punt there is already the wrong decision based on field position, based on the score, based on the time left, right? I already think that that's the wrong move. But then to add on to it, if you're going to call a fake punt, call something that works, right? There's no faith in my mind that Damar Hamlin is a strong enough runner to get there if it's contested, right? They didn't start from a widespread punt position. They started from a punt defense position, which makes it all the more distance that the Chiefs have to react to the fake punt, and all the more distance that Damar Hamlin has to go, right? I think that this was the worst way to make an already bad play call. And I'm very confused as to how that happens, right? I just there's a lot of decision-making pieces that go into calling a fake punt when it's something just so routine, and I don't know how this passed so many filters to make it where this is what happened. But unfortunately, I don't think this was even the worst special teams thing that happened in this game, right? I want to talk about that missed field goal. not only because that it was the end of the game, right? And it was quote unquote the deciding play, right? But also it was a kick that I trusted, right? Tyler Bass has been really good, especially in close game situations all season long, right? 45 yards is not, it's not a 60-yarder in the rain like we watched what's his face from the Eagles kick against the Bills weeks ago, right? Like this was a 45-yard chip shot in no wind. Straight away, really easy in a situation that he's done numerous times before. Wide right, and the ball with motion. I didn't see anything bad about the snap or the hold. Like, it just felt really routine. I am so surprised he missed that kick. And I'm not here to fault him and say it's all his fault, of course. Like, I'm not trying to put pressure on him, because there were obviously plays that could have been made throughout the game that make that look a whole lot different, where he didn't need that field goal, right? But that's such a surprising miss to me.
Yeah. I mean, I've been saying it all season, like, I feel like our kicking is not something I've ever really been concerned about. Like, I still think, Tyler Bass is still a really good kicker. I don't know if he'll be our kicker next season, because, like, obviously the city of Buffalo, That being said, I still believe, like, he deserves to still be here. Like, just because one missed kick, like, I think there were other plays, obviously, that could have changed the outcome. Like, again, there was a few open receivers that, Allen could have hit for a few extra first downs.
Don't worry. Don't worry. We're going to break down second down. Don't you worry.
I know. I mean, that being said, though, I agree. Like, I felt really confident watching it, knowing we were going to kick. And I was like, okay, like, we're fine. Like, we'll take it OT. Like, it's going to come down to a coin toss again. And just watching that, yeah.
I mean, if anything, I think it puts value on the kicker, right? And the idea that, like, I say 45-yard chip shot as though I could hit a 25-yarder without any defenders, right? Like, don't get it twisted, right? But I guess it just surprises me that in the NFL, right, like, there's 32 kicker jobs. That one is one that was relatively trusted even within the NFL, and it went wide right. Like, it just felt like such a bizarre miss to me, man. It's really hard to fathom that kick not hitting even in that position, right? I just super bizarre. But part of the reason I don't want to put it on Tyler Bass is the second down, like we mentioned, right? I'm no film analyst, okay? I know Noah's going to get sad here, so if you see tears, just don't give him a hard time, all right? Second down, right before the kick happened on fourth down, that was eventually the missed field goal, right? Diggs is wide open at the sticks. There's 10 yards of space between him and the next closest defender, right? Easy first down. With that much time on the clock, all you have to do is get a first down. The field goal ties you and sends you to overtime. If you were at the 20-yard line with a first down, 2.5 minutes to go, you cannot lose that game. It's damn near impossible. 2nd and 9, instead of hitting that wide open receiver, he throws it towards the end zone. Admittedly, the receiver in the end zone is open. It was a really good play call. I give McDermott a lot of credit, or the offensive coordinator, whoever called the play there, right? Josh Allen, who is a notorious gunslinger, isn't throwing it into a risky situation. He isn't making a bad decision other than not throwing it to Diggs. He just shorts the ball by 10 yards and misses an open receiver in the end zone that would have given him the lead with 2.5 minutes to go. I don't want to sit here and tell you that I don't trust Josh Allen. I don't want to tell you that he's a bad quarterback. I don't believe any of that, right? I think it's just super rare for me to see this kind of incompetence, for lack of a better word, when all you really need is a first down. You have a wide open receiver in the end zone, and one of the most powerful arms in the league manages to miss the throw and not convert, where you end up having to put it on your kicker to tie the game and send you to overtime from 45 yards out.
Yeah. I mean, again, dude, I just think with the time, the field positioning, like I think the play should have been not to try to go for a home run ball. I think we should have just hit Diggs, got the first down, wasted more time, give them less time to like come back. And I think, oh man, dude, I don't know what happened, bro.
I guess my big question, right, is how much of that decision making falls on Josh Allen, right? In the idea that, like, if that same play had happened in the first quarter, let's call it the first possession of the game. It's a tie game and you've got 3.5 quarters to play where you're not necessarily worried about time because there's the whole damn game left, right? Yeah, of course. Make that throw. Make the throw to the end zone. Kick your field goal. It doesn't matter, right? When I think for an elite quarterback, or at least somebody I consider to be elite, right? You have to recognize the open receiver and how getting the first down wins you the game. I don't foresee myself having, or I shouldn't say foresee, that's the wrong word, but I don't see there ever being a situation where we're talking about Breeze or Brady or Manning or any of those guys making the same kind of bad throw on not the smartest football decision, right? Like, I hate that I'm about to use Brock Purdy for this, right? But like, the game manager type quarterback is going to throw for the first down because he recognizes how to manage the game there, right? The smart play is to hit the open receiver closer to you rather than taking that home run shot. And again, it's not to call Josh Allen bad, but you start to wonder if that gunslinging doesn't cost you the game. I mean, we talked about it in weeks past that, you know, maybe the gunslinging has turned into more interceptions than other guys in the league, right? Maybe the gunslinging has turned into, I just want to throw the ball deep into double coverage because fuck it, I can. But in this case, the gunslinging just kind of led to deeper, stronger throw that I still didn't make when there was a smarter decision open. The whole thing, I don't want to blame Josh Allen. I know that there were plenty of other opportunities the Bills could have had to score or create a stop or not be in a losing position at that point in time in the game, right? I'm not putting it all on this play, but it kind of feels like Josh Allen's gunslinging maybe got in the way of your ability to handle the situation that you ended up in.
Yeah. I don't know. I agree. I mean, I don't know. I think I don't know. I don't want to put the blame obviously on Josh Allen. One misplay, one missed throw doesn't, cost us any, because we still had, third down to work with. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I just find it super interesting, and I guess I wish that I could see a different coach in Buffalo. Not necessarily to replace McDermott at this point. Like, I don't want to look at it with hindsight, right? But like, I wonder how a different coach other than McDermott or a different set of coordinators through Josh Allen's career this far maybe would have changed some of the gunslinger out of him, right? Josh Allen is significantly better now than he looked in college. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he was a great prospect other than he has a big ass arm. But I wonder if you could maybe coach some of that recklessness, that decision making out of him if you had started sooner and it hadn't been McDermott. I don't think the Bills are. You said it before we started recording that this may have been the best 3 quarters of football the Bills have played all season long, first to third quarter. Offense is working, defense is working. I'm not here to take it away from one play makes a whole damn game. You need every single play to beat the Chiefs. Fuck right out of here. But I guess there's something to be said about, like, if he were more careful, if he were a more game manager, if he had a Kyle Shanahan offense instead of a Sean McDermott offense, right? Does that play to Diggs happen where you have a fresh new set of downs on with 2.5 minutes to go on the 20 rather than kicking a missed field goal that ends up losing you the game? Like, that's. I just have my questions, I guess. I'll be very interested to see what the Bills decide to do coaching-wise into this offseason, because I said it weeks ago that I thought McDermott should lose his job. I think this is a deeper run than we were ready for when I said that, but I don't know. The whole thing just feels very bizarre. Not even a Bills fan, and I'm mad for Bills fans. This was a really rough way to lose. But enough harping on things that make Noah sad. We're going to bring up the next week of games. You want to start NFC or you want to start AFC? Because honestly, I'm pretty excited for both.
We'll start NFC.
All right. NFC is a good way to start. We got the Niners at home versus the Lions. Just leading off right off the bat, Niners are 7-point favorites here. I'm super interested in this game for a lot of reasons. The 49ers, the Lions feel like one of the most cohesive teams in football at this point. The team is working really well together. Everybody's playing well. There's just an energy in Detroit that goes pretty unmatched. I think that's a really exciting thing to bring into a 49ers territory where the 49ers maybe didn't play their best football last week. Like you said, very interestingly quiet on offense without Deebo Samuel. Although I recognize they have the pieces, they have the roster that is significantly better than the Lions. I think the way that this last week ended up is going to make this game super interesting and much closer than that 7-point spread would indicate.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I don't know what to think here. I mean, Deebo is questionable for this week. I mean, that being said, like, what kind of, how close to 100% is he going to be? No idea. I honestly think right now, Lions go. I think Lions win this one.
My X factor for this game is the Lions defense, right? There's so many pieces on that 49ers offense, even without Deebo Samuel, to be honest, that make them super hard to play defense against. Lions defense has been pretty good for the past couple of weeks through the playoffs. Most of the season long, I think that unit was better than we expected at the beginning of the season, right? I think that if the Lions defense plays a really good game, they absolutely are the more exciting team to move on. However, San Francisco's defense is really good, and I think they have the ability to disrupt what the Lions are doing. If the 49ers offense is working and that Lions defense has any sort of struggle, the Shanahan offense is going to rip that weakness to shreds. I think the best way I can explain it is that the 49ers ceiling is higher, right? That I think that they have the ability to be the better football team. But I think if the Lions can just control how well their defense plays, they absolutely have the potential here. Their consistency, their median is better than the 49ers based on what we've seen the past couple of weeks. But the 49ers ceiling is absolutely higher. I want to say it now that like my gambling will go towards the Lions. I'm taking the Lions +7. Absolutely, no doubt in my mind. I'm doing it, right? But I will say that if the 49ers win the game, I think they're going to win by multiple scores, right? If the Lions win, it'll be close. If the 49ers win, it's by multiple scores. I don't see it going anywhere in the middle of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you, but I want the Cinderella story. I want Detroit. I want to see them, advance. I think, I agree. I think they're the more fun team. Niners have just been so good that I just feel like them. If they were to advance, I'm kind of just like, okay, like that's kind of just them. Like I don't know, whatever. Like if the Lions win, I mean, I'd be a fucking bandwagon Lions fan for a little bit.
Dude, if the Lions win this game, I'm buying one of those slate gray jerseys. I'll put Darius Slay on it so I can tell myself there's an Eagles excuse, okay? But like, I'm telling you, I will buy a Lions jersey. We'll do our Super Bowl episode. I'll be in my gray jersey. Don't you doubt it for a second. I'm excited for this game. I think that this one will probably be a significantly more enjoyable game than the AFC one. I think that there's a lot of parity here, and like I said, I really could see this game going either way. I think it'll be a fun one. Rooting for the Lions for sure, because I think that story is a whole lot of fun. Jared Goff has just made himself a lovable dude in the past season and a half, when I didn't give a single solitary shit about him for the rest of his career before then. There's just so many guys. That team is so fun to root for. Like I'm hoping the Lions win. I'm taking them plus points. But it really could go either way. I just hope it turns into fun football.
Exactly.
All right, that brings us to the AFC. Ravens Chiefs. All right. I've been singing the Ravens' praise literally since our preseason episode. I told you they were going to win the division. They were going to be sneaky good. Noah kind of laughed me off at that point in time, but I just want to hold on to the idea that the Ravens have literally been good since before the season started, okay? Even in this past week, we watched the Ravens absolutely steamroll a second half against the Texans, who were playing pretty significantly good football. The Chiefs are coming in. Honestly, the AFC Championship is just an expectation for them at this point. I need Patrick Mahomes to experiencing a losing season just one time. I need them to go 4-13 next season, feel it once, and then they can go back to the AFC Championship every year. It's all I want in my life, you know. But I think even with that being said, that this is the Chiefs' expectation, right? I think the Chiefs come in significantly weaker than we've ever seen them at this position. If I were to rank these teams 1 through 4 in a power ranking, the Chiefs are very easily my 4th, and I think it's the most confident position I have anybody on that list. Not to say that they're bad, not to say that this game is an impossible one for them, but I think they come in significantly weaker and against a better team than they've probably ever faced at this point in time during the playoffs. With all that being said, Ravens are 3.5-point favorites at home. How do you see this one going?
Ravens all the way, because I swear to God, if I see another fucking Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes in it, dude, I'm actually just gonna stop watching football. No, I think straight up, I think I think we came in beginning of the season. We expected the Chiefs to kind of like, okay, maybe they'll still be here, and in the first few weeks, we were kind of like, well, they're not really looking as good. And we continued to kind of say that throughout the season. I mean, that being said, like again, they're finding a groove. I think also at the right time, kind of like the Bills did. I think their defense is starting to show up a little bit more. That being said, I think the Ravens do win. I just want to clarify. I thought the Ravens were going to be good in the regular season.
Fair.
I agreed, but
I went back to week 1. I just wanted my little flex. That's okay.
But we hadn't seen them perform in the playoffs. Now that we've seen it, we've seen Lamar Jackson actually be able to win a game, be able to overcome everything. Like I can now kind of get behind him. That being said, it's only 1. I do think this is going to be a close game. I do expect the Ravens to win this. But that being said, fuck, dude, you can't count Patrick Mahomes out.
So here's my thing, right? Is that for me, at least as the type of viewer I am, I could very clearly set an X factor for what the Lions needed to do to win the game, right? I don't see anything the Chiefs are capable of that gives me the confidence they will be the better team, right? You mentioned their defense. Their defense has been pretty superb all season long. Their defensive line has been really good. Their secondary has been all but locked down all season long, right? Like their defense has been good. There is nothing on that defense that tells me that they can stop Lamar Jackson. If he scrambles outside of the pocket, he either buys himself time for a receiver to get open when their receivers have been ridiculously good all season long, or he's bigger, stronger, and faster than anybody on that defense, and he's going to run over you, through you, or around you because he's a freak of an athlete, right? I don't see even the Chiefs' biggest strength in their defense being good enough to stop the Ravens. Then if you tell me that, like, okay, well, the defense may not be able to keep up, but the Chiefs have a very explosive offense. Well, I've watched their receivers drop 1 million footballs this season, at least. I want 1 million to be an over-exaggeration, and it may not be. Kadarius Toney may have 1 million drops on his own this season, all right? I don't see Pacheco running through that Ravens defensive line and getting a chunk of yards. I don't see Patrick Mahomes getting out of the pocket and extending plays the same way he does against other weaker teams. I don't see anything that the Chiefs have in their repertoire from 6 seasons of evidence now that tells me if they do this well, they'll beat the Ravens. I don't know that I have felt this confident about a conference championship in a long time. I will replay this nonstop on repeat if the Chiefs manage to win this game. I will eat my words. I'll cook a fucking crow and eat it on the podcast next week, okay? But I think the things that the Ravens are most notoriously good at are not things that the Chiefs have the ability to do anything about. I don't see this going any way other than the Ravens winning this game confidently.
I mean, like I said, I want to agree. That being said, a few calls here and there, and It's a different game.
I hate to chalk it up to things like calls. I think even in the Super Bowl last year where we talked about James Bradbury's holding pass interference, whatever the fuck they called, right? Like, even then, I didn't blame Bradbury for it and say he cost us the game. I want to be rational and say that even with bad calls or favorable calls to one team or the other team, right? Like, I don't think that the calls can necessarily define a game when you just play better more consistently. Right? The same way I'm not blaming Josh Allen this week, right? Is that how many times did the Bills actually punt the ball this past week, right? There were other opportunities that they didn't put the drives together. I'm not blaming that one play or that one drive or that one sequence, right, on the loss when you had how many other opportunities that drive could have turned into scoring, right? Like, it doesn't come down to a player. It doesn't come down to an official or a call or whatever, right? Like, if you consistently play better, which I wholeheartedly believe that the Ravens can do here, even if every single call goes the Chiefs' way, I don't see them being strong enough in the places they're going to need it most to stop the Ravens. I cannot fathom a way in my mind that the Ravens are not going to be the better team here and win this game.
Listen, I'm all for it. I want Ravens too. Don't worry. Just in the past, you know.
I get it. All right. One thing I want to cover before we get out of here is that FanDuel was kind enough not only to provide us our lines as they do every week. Again, please gamble responsibly. Not only were they kind enough to give us the spreads for the games that are going to happen, they were kind enough to give us early spreads for what potential Super Bowl matchups might be. I'm not asking you to pick who's going to be there. I'm not asking you to pick a Super Bowl winner. But what I am going to do is I'm going to highlight the 4 matchups, give you the spread, and tell me what you would pick this week if those were the spreads you were getting for a Super Bowl this week, only knowing what we know. So, the most commonly gambled one on, I think should probably go without saying, is 49ers Ravens. The spread on this one is 49ers, 1.5-point favorites.
I'm taking Ravens, dude.
Ravens plus points feels like absolutely free money. I am right there behind you. Easy, done with it, moving on. All right. Lions Ravens. This is the biggest spread according to FanDuel at the moment for matchups that don't yet exist. So just want to throw that out there one more time. Lions Ravens, the largest spread of the 4. Ravens are 4.5 favorites.
Ravens with the points, yeah.
This one, I'm with you. If I were putting money on it, I would pick the Ravens over the Lions. Don't get me wrong. But again, the same way that I feel about the Lions and the 49ers, that if the Lions win, it's going to be close. If the Ravens win, it's by a million. I'm in that kind of same boat where the plus points feels a whole lot better, right? This one would be harder to pick the Ravens, but I'd still trust the Ravens to win by 5 points or more. Niners Chiefs. Niners would be 3-point favorites.
Niners.
This one feels tough. This one is probably my hardest. Obviously, I've seen all 4, so like I have the knowledge of knowing what comes next, right? But like the Niners don't necessarily feel scores better than the Chiefs, right? Even though I said like I would put the Chiefs at 4, right? The matchup head to head, I think, looks a whole lot different in the idea that the Chiefs defense has been consistently good in stopping the Niners in what the Niners are good at, right? Again, knowing what we know now, if Debo plays, if he doesn't play, obviously changes things. Don't get me wrong, right? But like Niners by 3, I am so unconfident in. I think I would probably take the Niners -3, but I don't feel good about it. I mean,
I do, but that's just because I don't care.
He's just out here being a hater. It's fine. All right. And then the last one would be Lions Chiefs. Chiefs would be 3.5 favorites.
The Lions. I'm picking the Chiefs, dude.
This one I would pick the Chiefs. As much as I don't like it, I would pick the Chiefs. I'm kind of with you in the same boat. I don't want to see fucking Patrick Mahomes in another goddamn Super Bowl. I have nothing against him personally. I think he's going to be one of the greatest quarterbacks I ever watch in my lifetime. I love Andy Reid and will always have a soft spot. Travis Kelce's an absolute unit. I love the guy, but dude, just somebody fucking else, please. Like, with all that being said, I think that I would probably take the Chiefs minus 3.5 because it feels like the smarter gamble. But I think the Lions could cover that. Plus 3.5, I think the Lions could do it. I don't know. I find it super interesting that without even playing the conference championship, we can see these spreads and get even a glimpse at what spreads might look like if we get that matchup. I will be sure to mark these down this week so that we can compare them to what the actual spread is after conference championship, compare the, pre-conference to the, pre-Super Bowl based on what we actually see this week. We'll be sure to update that when we're here next week. Noah, you got anything else? All right. Well, then I think that covers us. Thank you guys for watching. I know it was a little Bills heavy. Sorry about it. Happy Noah's internet survived. We'll see you guys here next week, and thanks for watching. Adios.